The silence was deafening, a heavy blanket that suffocated the room. A single ray of sunlight managed to pierce through the blinds, casting an eerie glow on the old, worn-out armchair. It was as if time had stood still, frozen in a moment of unbearable pain. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and yesterday's regrets. On the wall, a faded photograph seemed to whisper stories of happier times, of laughter and tears, of a life left behind. The clock on the mantel ticked away, a constant reminder of the passing of time, of moments lost, of a life unraveling. The room was a reflection of its occupant, a man haunted by the ghosts of his past. The walls, once painted with vibrant colors, now wore a dull, grayish hue, like the ashes of a fire long extinguished. The furniture, once polished and proud, now stood as a testament to neglect and despair. In the center of the room, a single flickering candle cast shadows on the walls, like the demons that danced in the mind of the man who sat in the armchair, his eyes fixed on some distant horizon. The silence was broken only by the sound of his breathing, a slow, labored rhythm that seemed to echo the beating of his heart. It was as if he was waiting for something, or someone, to bring back the life that had been drained from him. The stillness was oppressive, a physical weight that pressed upon his chest, making it hard to breathe. And yet, he sat, frozen in time, unable to move, unable to escape the prison of his own mind. He remembered the day he met her, the way she smiled, the way her eyes sparkled in the sunlight. It was as if the world had come alive, and everything seemed possible. They were young, full of hope and dreams, with a future stretching out before them like an endless highway. They laughed, they loved, they built a life together, brick by brick, moment by moment. He remembered the way she used to wake him up in the morning, the way she'd kiss his forehead, the way she'd whisper, "I love you," in his ear. Their daughter was born, and their world was filled with the sound of her laughter, the smell of her baby skin, the feel of her tiny hands wrapped around their fingers. They were a family, a unit, a bond that seemed unbreakable. He remembered the way they used to take long walks together, the way they'd talk about their dreams, the way they'd plan their future. He remembered the way she used to look at him, with eyes that shone like stars, with a love that seemed to burn brighter with every passing day. But then, he had to leave, to go to a place where the sun didn't shine, where the air was thick with the smell of smoke and blood. He had to leave behind the life they had built, the love they shared, the family they had created. He had to go to a place where the only constant was the sound of gunfire, the smell of death, the feel of fear that gripped his heart. He remembered the way he used to think of them, of the life they had left behind, of the love that seemed to fade with every passing day. The day it happened, the day that changed everything, was etched in his memory like a scar. He remembered the sound of the explosion, the feel of the ground shaking beneath his feet, the smell of smoke and blood that filled his nostrils. He remembered the screams, the cries for help, the sound of his own voice, shouting orders, shouting for medics, shouting for someone, anyone to help. He remembered the feeling of chaos, of pandemonium, of a world gone mad. In the midst of the chaos, he saw him, a young boy no more than 10 years old, lying on the ground, his eyes wide in fear, his body broken and battered. He remembered the way he felt, the way his heart seemed to stop, the way his mind went blank. He remembered the way he reacted, the way he rushed to the boy's side, the way he tried to save him, the way he held him in his arms as he took his last breath. He remembered the feeling of guilt, of shame, of responsibility that washed over him like a wave. The days that followed were a blur, a haze of grief and anger, of guilt and shame. He remembered the way he used to think of the boy, of the life he had lost, of the family he had left behind. He remembered the way he used to wonder, what if? What if he had acted sooner? What if he had been more careful? What if he had been more brave? The what ifs haunted him like ghosts, like demons, like a constant reminder of his failure, of the years that followed, or a struggle, a fight to come to terms with what had happened. He remembered the way he used to wake up in the middle of the night, the way he used to see the boy's face, the way he used to hear his voice. He remembered the way he used to try to push the memories away, the way he used to try to bury them deep inside, but the memories lingered, like a shadow, like a ghost, like a constant reminder of his past. He became withdrawn, isolated, a stranger in his own home. He remembered the way his wife used to look at him, with eyes that were filled with concern, with love, with a deep sadness. He remembered the way his daughter used to try to talk to him, to reach out to him, to bring him back. But he was gone, lost in a world of his own, a world of pain and guilt and shame. The silence between them grew, a chasm that seemed to widen with every passing day. He went through the motions, like a robot, like a machine, like a man who had lost his soul. He remembered the way he used to feel, the way he used to think, the way he used to love. But it was all gone, lost in the haze of his past, lost in the chaos of his mind. He was a shell of a man, a shadow of his former self, a stranger in his own skin. One day, his daughter came to him, her eyes filled with tears, her voice shaking with emotion. She told him that she couldn't take it anymore, that she couldn't watch him disappear, that she couldn't lose him. She told him that she loved him, that she needed him, that she wanted him back. He remembered the way he felt, the way his heart seemed to break, the way his mind seemed to clear. In that moment, something shifted, something changed. He remembered the way he used to be, the way he used to love, the way he used to live. He remembered the boy, the way he had died, the way he had lived. He remembered the guilt, the shame, the responsibility. But he also remembered the love, the hope, the future. He took a deep breath and let the silence go. Let the memories fade, let the guilt and shame wash away. He looked at his daughter and saw the love in her eyes, the love that had always been there, the love that had never gone away. The silence was deafening, a heavy blanket that suffocated the life out of their home. John's eyes, once bright and full of purpose, now seemed dull and lifeless, like two stones worn smooth by the constant pounding of the sea. His shoulders slumped as if carrying the weight of the world, the burden of his memories threatening to crush him at any moment. The air was thick with tension, the smell of freshly brewed coffee hanging in the air like a fragile lifeline, a reminder of the life they once shared. As he sat at the kitchen table, his fingers drummed a staccato beat on the worn wood, a rhythmic expression of the turmoil brewing inside. His wife, Sarah, stood by the sink, her eyes fixed on the window, her gaze drifting out into the distance, searching for a glimpse of the man she once knew. The sunlight streaming through the window cast a golden glow on her face, but it couldn't penetrate the darkness that had taken up residence in their home. The sound of birds chirping outside seemed mocking, a cool reminder of the joy and laughter that had once filled their lives. The memories of his time in the war still lingered, the echoes of gunfire and screams lingering in his mind like a malignant ghost. He couldn't shake the feeling of guilt and shame that had taken up residence in his heart, the weight of which threatened to consume him whole. The medal he had been awarded for his bravery seemed like a hollow mockery now, a symbol of a courage he no longer felt. It sat on the mantel, the constant reminder of the man he used to be, a man he could never be again. As he looked around the kitchen, he saw the familiar sights of his life before the war. The old coffee maker, the faded curtains, the worn linoleum. But everything seemed different now, tainted by the memories he had brought back with him. The smell of fresh-cut grass and baking cookies, once a source of comfort, now seemed like a distant memory, a reminder of all that he had lost. The taste of his morning coffee, once a staple of his daily routine, now seemed bitter and unappealing. Sarah's voice broke the silence, her words tentative, like a fragile flower pushing its way through the cracked pavement. "John, do we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The sound of her voice was like a lifeline, a reminder of the love and connection they once shared. But John just shook his head, his eyes fixed on the table, his mind 1,000 miles away. The silence that followed was oppressive, a physical presence that seemed to suffocate them both. As the days turned into weeks, the silence between them grew, a chasm that seemed to deepen with each passing day. John's daughter, Emily, tried to bridge the gap, her small body a whirlwind of energy and curiosity. But even her laughter and smiles couldn't penetrate the darkness that had taken up residence in their home. The sound of her giggles, once a source of joy, now seemed like a distant memory, a reminder of all that they had lost. One day, as John was walking through the park, he saw a young boy playing with his father, their laughter and shouts carrying on the wind. The sight was like a punch to the gut, a reminder of all that he had lost. He felt a wave of grief wash over him, a sense of regret and longing that seemed to consume him whole. The smell of fresh-cut grass and the sound of children's laughter seemed to transport him back to a time when life was simpler, when the only worry was what game to play next. As he walked back to his house, the weight of his memories seemed to bear down on him, the guilt and shame threatening to crush him. But then he saw Emily, her small body standing on the porch, her eyes fixed on him with a look of love and concern. The sight of her was like a balm to his soul, a reminder of the love and connection they still shared. He felt a spark of hope ignite within him, a sense of purpose and determination that he hadn't felt in years. Maybe, just maybe, he could find his way back, could learn to let go of the past and embrace the present. The sound of her voice calling out to him was like a lifeline, a reminder of the love and connection that could heal even the deepest wounds.